Western Spring Television. Ours it is.
Here are the top stories of the news. Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi has released his manifesto. PDP vice presidential candidate Okowa, Tambuwal, others meet Obasanjo in Abeokuta. On the foreign scene, Israel Air Force carries out airstrike on Hamas site in the Gaza Strip. Good afternoon and welcome to Spring News at 12 on Western Spring Television. My name is Evelyn Ohiole. The presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, has finally released his campaign manifesto. The 72-page manifesto titled "It's Possible, Our Pact with Nigerians" was released after a long wait. Speculations and disagreements among members of the party, opposition parties and other vested interests. Mr. Obi, announcing the release of the manifesto on his verified Twitter page, said the manifesto, its overarching and visionary policy planks, lays out his mission, focus and mandate for securing, uniting and making Nigeria productive. He further called on Nigerians to peruse the policy document. The presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Atiku Abubakar, has told people with disabilities, PWD, not to vote the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, in the forthcoming 2023 presidential election. The former vice president stated this while speaking at the inauguration of PDP's People with Disabilities National Campaign Council. He stated that the APC has failed to implement the Persons with Disabilities Law despite the passage of the bill by the National Assembly. He revealed that people with disability will contribute their quota to the economy and the PDP recognized them, and that is why the party has given them a special place in the party's campaign council. Inaugurating the PLWD campaign council, the national chairman of the PDP, Iyiochia Ayu, said the party is inaugurating the council simply because the PDP understands the pain and value of PWDs. The People's Democratic Party, PDP vice presidential candidate Governor Ifeanyi Okowa, Director General of the PDP Presidential Campaign Organization, Governor Aminu Waziri Tambuwal, and other leaders of the party have met with former President Olusegun Obasanjo in his Ogun residence yesterday. Other members of the team who visited the former president include former Governor of Osun State, Prince Olagunsoye Oyinlola, former Cross River State Governor Liel Imoke, former Jigawa State Governor Dr. Sule Lamido, and Otumba Oyewole Fasawe. Speaking after the closed-door session, Tambuwal said the team was in Abeokuta to pay its respect and to continue to consult the former president on matters of national interest. He stated that the party leaders had a very fruitful conversation with the former president, adding that the party will continue to do what it needs to do to win the election. Tambuwal, who is the Sokoto State Governor, hinted that the party was expecting a rousing and large crowd at the Lagos State presidential campaign in Lagos on Monday. Meanwhile, the All Progressives Congress Presidential Campaign Council has debunked the rumor that its presidential candidate, Bola Tinubu, postponed the United States trip scheduled to start this month because he was denied a visa. While responding to the rumor of the visa denial, spokesperson for the party's PCC, Festus Keyamo, released a photo of Senator Tinubu's U.S. visa. However, Senator Tinubu is billed to speak at Chatham House in London with a host of foreign investors to break down his presidential bid and plans for the country. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has blamed its failure to prosecute electoral offenders on the inability of the National Assembly to pass the National Electoral Offences Commission Bill 2022. INEC chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, disclosed this at an interactive meeting with editors in Lagos, stating that the passage of the bill would empower the commission to prosecute those who destroy INEC's properties. Professor Yakubu stated that the power to prosecute electoral offenders fully rests upon INEC, but the commission is, however, limited due to the deficit of legislation. Professor Yakubu added that until a bill for an act to establish the National Electoral Offences Commission becomes operational, INEC will not be able to expeditiously deal with electoral offenders. Governor Nyesom Wike has told other parties to avoid campaigning in Rivers State, maintaining that the People's Democratic Party, PDP, would sweep the oil-rich state in next year's elections. He made this known during the state honors and awards held at the Banquet Hall Government House in Port Harcourt on Saturday. The governor revealed that he had told the governor of Ebonyi State, David Umahi, and the Kogi State Governor, Yahya Bello, when they paid him a visit, not to put their money in the state, as it is a no-go area. According to him, his government already has a successor, and that is based on the good works of his administration. Governor Wike conferred 17 persons, including the PDP G5 governors, with the highest state honor of Grand Service Star of Rivers State, GSSRS. Zamfara State government has denied the claim of the National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Mr. Debo Ologunagba, that democracy and the 2023 general elections were under attack in Zamfara State. In a press statement issued to newsmen in Gusau, the State Commissioner of Information, Ibrahim Magaji Dosara, denied the PDP spokesman's claim, adding that the claim is nothing but baseless accusations of the opposition party. He revealed that there have been several warnings about the increase in banditry activities in some local government areas like Gumi, Ukuyum, Anka, and some parts of Gusau, Safe, Talata, Mafara in the state. He stated that the PDP flagrantly violated the State Commissioner of Police's order to the party leaders in the state to suspend their campaign rally, which they intended to do. He added that the main opposition party was trying to cover up its past mismanagement of the resources of the state and the nation. As fuel scarcity lingers in the country and queues re-emerge at filling stations, some motorists and residents have urged a quick resolution to the setback as it has disrupted their plans. Olayinka Ale was on the streets of Oshogbo and now reports.
In the last few days, many Nigerians have been grappling with petrol scarcity as queues have surfaced in filling stations across Oshogbo. Some stations sell petrol above 230 naira per litre, while the black market price is as high as 300 naira. A visit to some fuel stations across town gave an insight of what road users go through just to buy fuel. Speaking with Western Spring Television News crew in the separate interviews, Mr. Adebare Oluwasoji and Mr. Ibukun Komolafe lamented on how the fuel scarcity has disrupted the business activities for days and how they have to abandon other activities just to join the long queue.
I hope if they can end this crisis as soon as possible, because it's getting out of hand. We have to queue for more than 2 hours, 3 hours before we can buy the fuel at abnormal price.
Nearly every year we keep seeing this kind of fuel hikes. We thought with this regime that it would be better, but it has not changed at all, and it's so unfortunate.
Mrs. Mujidat Adedoja, in her case, made an appeal to the government to find a lasting solution to the always lingering fuel scarcity.
We are begging the government to assist us on this matter. We have nowhere to go down, and we have no country than Nigeria.
Meanwhile, the vice chairman of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN Western Zone, Mr. Joseph Oyewale Akoni, has attributed the current fuel scarcity an increase in the pump price to the hike in private depot prices. Mr. Akoni, however, urged the federal government to deregulate the oil sector in order to prevent frequent fuel scarcity encountered by Nigerians. He revealed further that the price at which private depot owners sell petrol across the country has not been sustainable. Olayinka Ali, Western Spring Television News.
You're watching Spring News at 12 on Western Spring Television. We will be right back after this break.
How would you like a TV station that breaks the barriers of your TV screen? A TV station that brings infotainment to your forefront, breaking the conceptual fourth wall. Giving you television that is personal to you and your everyday life. Indigenous broadcasting for every man, cutting across the shackles of age, class, and language. With the best of equipment in digitized broadcasting. At Western Spring Television, your television experience has never been this magical.
We'll bring you the best in news and programs, breaking news to you as it drops from where it drops.
Talk shows that keep you glued to your seats. Sports programs not void of in-depth analysis. Entertainment programs cutting across all ages. Political analysis with all its accompanying controversies. Social responsibility because we care. Western Nigeria gave us our first feel of television. Western Spring Television is taking us to the next level.
Sports is a culture on its own. It has its own language, its own people, with their own way of life. The world of sports is never void of actions, stories, dramas, and scandals. I guess you need a sports show that can walk the walk and talk the talk.
On this show, we answer all your sporting questions. The whens, the whys, the wheres, and even the what ifs. Sports Spring is that show that will give you that new lease of life you've been looking for in sport journalism. Join me, Joseph Atewe,
And your sports Amazon, Nengi Ernest.
on this station, Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star Times.
Let's talk sports. Let's speak the most universal language of the world.
Welcome back. The Nigeria Governors Forum NGF says a claim by the federal government that states are responsible for the rise in poverty rate is baseless and far from the truth. Minister of State for Budget and National Planning, Clem Agba, had accused state governors of giving more thought to flyovers and airports than improving conditions in rural areas, saying 72% of Nigeria's poor citizens are in the rural areas abandoned by the governors. But reacting in a statement signed by the Director of Media and Public Affairs, Nigeria Governors Forum Secretariat, Abdulrazak Bello Bakindo, the governors describes the minister's comments as unnecessary and diversionary, saying they represent a brazen descent into selective amnesia. According to them, the assertion by the minister that the rural populace had been abandoned by governors is not only preposterous and without any empirical basis, but also very far from the truth. Mr. Bello Bakindo also said the federal government's dereliction of duty and inability to secure lives and property is the main reason for the high rates of poverty in states. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, says it will commence physical inspection and action exercise of 649 forfeited vehicles and other assets. EFCC announced the details of the exercise in an advertorial published in some national newspapers. According to the anti-graft agency, the exercise will hold on Tuesday at its offices across 9 states in Abuja, Uyo, Enugu, Kano, Lagos, Benin, Ibadan, Port Harcourt, and Sokoto. In the advertorial, EFCC said the forfeited assets include 649 vehicles, 52 mobile gadgets, and 15 ships. It added that the auction exercise of vessels and barges would hold online at www.innaira.com and www.riago.com and on December 6th and December 7th, 2022. The Nigeria Railway Corporation, NRC, will resume the Abuja-Kaduna passenger train service on Monday with only 2 return services. The managing director of the NRC, Fidat Okiria, made the announcement in a statement noting that online and mobile app ticketing will be available from this morning. It revealed that the first train will depart Rigasa train station in Kaduna State to Abuja by 8 o'clock a.m. in the morning, while from Abuja, the first train will depart Idu train station to Kaduna State by 9:45 a.m. Mr. Okiria added that as part of the new security measures, it is now mandatory for passengers to present their national identity number and valid boarding ticket before they will be allowed to board. Recall that the NRC suspended train service along the route after Boko Haram terrorists attacked a moving passenger train in Kaduna on March 28, 2022. Moving on to the foreign scene now, the Israeli Air Force says it carried out overnight airstrikes against sites of the Islamist movement Hamas in the Gaza Strip after a rocket was fired from the Palestinian enclave towards Israeli territory. The Israeli ministry said the air raids early this morning targeted a weapons manufacturing facility and an underground tunnel belonging to Hamas. No group has claimed responsibility for the rocket, the first fired in a month, which the Israeli military said landed in an open area near Israel's separation fence on Saturday evening without causing casualties or damage to property. The air attack on Gaza follows outrage from the shooting at point-blank range of a young Palestinian man, Amar Mufleh, 23, by an Israeli soldier in broad daylight on Friday, which was captured on video. The harrowing footage was packed widespread anger among Palestinians and calls on social media to escalate resistance against the Israeli occupation. The United States Navy says it has intercepted a fishing trawler smuggling more than 50 tons of ammunition, including thousands of rocket fuses and a large amount of propellant for rocket-propelled grenades in the Gulf of Oman. In a statement on Saturday, the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet said the illicit cargo was discovered during a flag verification boarding on Thursday and was the second major weapons seizure in a month along a maritime route from Iran to war-torn Yemen. The U.S. Navy stated that the direct or indirect supply, sale, or transfer of weapons to the Houthis in Yemen violates UN Security Council resolution and international law. On November 8th, the fleet intercepted a fishing vessel transporting more than 70 tons of ammonium perchlorate, which is used in the production of rocket and missile fuel, as well as explosives. U.S. Vice Admiral Brad Cooper had accused Iran of being behind the shipment. Peace talks between Colombia's government and El Rebel Group have reached a first point of agreement. President Gustavo Petro made the remarks during a visit to the province of Western Antioquia. He said both sides have agreed that indigenous people displaced by the conflict should be guaranteed safe return to their lands in the province. The conflict in Colombia has lasted nearly 60 years. The left-wing National Liberation Army is the last rebel group still active in the war, and no ceasefire has been reached yet. Moving to sport, Lionel Messi produced a moment of magic on his 1,000th career appearance as two-time champions Argentina beat Australia 2-1 to reach the World Cup quarter-finals. The 35-year-old was winning his 169th cap for his country, and they needed his brilliance to take them through the next round and a tantalizing tie against the Netherlands on Friday. Argentina had barely threatened in the first half, but Paris Saint-Germain's Messi stroked in a delightful low finish to spark wild celebrations from their fans. It was a 789th career goal, 94 of those coming for Argentina, and Messi is now the joint top scorer in Qatar. Tyson Fury retained his World Boxing Council heavyweight title with a decisive stoppage win over British rival Derek Chisora on Saturday before setting his sights on a blockbuster unification bout against Alexander Usyk. Fury, 34, maintained his unbeaten record in front of 59,769 people at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. fellow Briton Chisora, 38, was hurt repeatedly by the dominant champion, and the referee waved off the one-sided contest in the 10th round. Usyk, holder of the IBF, IBO, WBO and WBA belts, was ringside in London. For Chisora, it was the 13th loss of his 4-6 fight career and his 4th in the last 5.
I commend him. I got to tip my hat to Derek Chisora because he's an absolute warrior, and he took a lot of heavy punches. Maybe they left him in too long, but I was very happy when the referee stopped it. He took enough, you know what I mean? He was tired and shipping a lot of heavy blows, and we're not in there to do serious damage to each other. It's a boxing match, and I was happy to see it finished. So yeah, big shout out to Derek Chisora as well.
Before we end the news, here is a recap of our top stories. The presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, has finally released his campaign manifesto. The 72-page manifesto titled "It's Possible, Our Pact with Nigerians." The People's Democratic Party, PDP vice presidential candidate, Governor Ifeanyi Okowa, Director General of the PDP Presidential Campaign Organization, Governor Aminu Waziri Tambuwal, and other leaders of the party have met with former President Olusegun Obasanjo in his Ogun residence yesterday. And on the foreign scene, the Israeli Air Force says it carried out overnight airstrikes against sites of the Islamist movement Hamas in the Gaza Strip after a rocket was fired from the Palestinian enclave towards Israeli territory. You can follow us on our social media handles on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at Western Spring Television. You can also watch us live on our YouTube channel at Western Spring Television. That ends Spring News at 12 on Western Spring Television. I am Evelyn Ohiole.
Sports is a culture on its own. It has its own language, its own people, with their own way of life. The world of sports is never void of actions, stories, dramas, and scandals. I guess you need a sports show that can walk the walk and talk the talk.
On this show, we answer all your sporting questions. The whens, the whys,